He's tossing her!
Duncan, no!
Hey there, Game of Thrones fans, welcome back to the channel. In today's video, we're giving you our predictions for A Knight of the Seven Kingdoms Episode 2. Let's get into it. Sometimes I feel like Game of Thrones changed the perception of fantasy shows forever, and now we've officially entered the era of George R.R. Martin, where his works are getting adapted faster than he can write. After the resounding success of Game of Thrones, we've already witnessed House of the Dragon, and with the news surrounding the much-awaited Season 3, we now have a new small-scale adventure with fun, immature humor. I have to admit that A Knight of the Seven Kingdoms is a more goofy take on the gruesome violence and brooding villainy that the fans are used to, at least in the first episode. But trust me, it's still solid entertainment. You'll get to see Ser Duncan the Tall, a naive and clumsy knight who's out to make a name for himself, and his adventures already have my attention. In this video, however, I'll try to predict everything that can happen in the second episode based on the events of the first, so there might be a few major spoilers along the way. The first episode might be a thorough entertainer, but it's not exactly eventful. I mean, the storyline is linear, and there isn't much going on so far, except for the struggles of Ser Duncan the Tall, who hasn't yet found a way to feature in the tourney. You see, he might be a knight, but as of now, he's a self-proclaimed knight with no witnesses, and it's only Egg who believes in his journey and wants to serve him sincerely. I think one of the first things that the second episode will focus on will be a quick backstory of Duncan. If you've read the Hedge Knight novel, you already know quite a bit about his origins, but for those who don't, Duncan's origins are humble. He was born in Flea Bottom, and he grew up as an orphan who barely managed to survive, and then went on to serve Sir Arlen of Pennytree as a squire. Now, the first episode has already established that even Sir Arlen of Pennytree is no legendary knight, but at least he was an honest and honorable one. The quick trailer for the upcoming episodes suggests that Duncan has the greatest respect and gratitude for Sir Arlen, even though the knight didn't exactly treat him too well at all times. Also, since Sir Arlen was not a great fighter himself, there's a good chance that Duncan will realize that his great height and strength will have to compensate for his lack of proper training that some of the other knights might have received. The trailer also reveals how Duncan survived on scraps as a child and was forced to seek out a family for himself, and I think that with Egg by his side, he might have finally found one. The season opener saw him rather dismissive of Egg until he accepts him as his squire at the end of the episode, and I have a feeling that the second episode will strengthen and deepen the bond between the two. Overall, I think the whole thing gives off a goofy mountain and male Arya Stark energy, and I'm not complaining. Now, coming back to Egg, the true identity of this young boy might be revealed in the next episode, unless they hold it back as one of the final twists. In the novel, the identity is revealed at a crucial juncture when Egg intervenes to a cruel punishment given to Duncan, which I'll come to later in the video. Egg is none other than Aegon Targaryen, and he's Aerion's younger brother. Personally, I would have liked this as something that's revealed in the second to last episode, but the finale sets up their journey ahead. In the novel, Prince Maekar approaches Duncan with the proposition of training and mentoring Aegon at Summerhill, the Targaryen palace, and the Hedge Knight refuses because he believes that Aegon will learn a lot more outside palaces. Maekar agrees to this vision, and the two set off in search of more adventures, which marks the next couple of chapters as they encounter greater threats. I'm assuming that the first season of A Knight of the Seven Kingdoms will follow the narrative with some twists here and there, and that makes it more likely that the next couple of episodes will not disclose the identity of Egg. I'm also keen to find out what led to Egg being in this situation, and the backstory will be intriguing because it will soon explain why a member of the royal family is living like a street urchin. As for Duncan, his challenges are only getting started, because nothing comes easy for a man in this harsh world with no family lineage or reputation. I'm guessing we'll see him struggling for validation of his knight identity, and there's a brief glimpse in the trailer that suggests he'll have to confront his fears about the jousting process as well. As much as Duncan wants to participate in the tournament, the first episode has shown us that he's not the most confident man, and he wonders about his chances against the greater and more reputed knights. Even the novel echoes this sentiment because he has been described as someone who is more efficient and skillful than a farmer with a spike, but pales in comparison to those with proper training. It's just that he's gifted with great height and strength, and he must use these to the fullest to become the man he aspires to be. Maybe Egg will have a role to play in boosting his confidence, because we've already seen how he draws the shooting star analogy to show Duncan that even sleeping outside under the stars might be good luck for his future. I also get the feeling that in the next episode, we'll see someone finally validating his participation in the tournament. It might come from the Crown Prince Baelor, as it happened in the books, or it might be someone else. But Duncan won't spend much longer as a nobody. I just hope he doesn't have to sell his adorable white horse for armor, because I've already become a fan of the bond between them. One thing that I'm absolutely sure about is that Duncan will get into some serious trouble, and even the novel points in the same direction. You see, in the book, Duncan gets into a fight with Prince Aerion over a peasant girl whom the latter had assaulted. I love how Duncan is the purest soul, even though he might be dim-witted, and he doesn't shy away from landing a solid blow when he's truly infuriated by the injustice. But Hitting a prince has consequences, and Arion instructs his guards to knock Duncan's teeth out for his daring stunt. However, this is when Egg intervenes in the novel and reveals his true identity, and Duncan gets a fair trial as he's pushed to a trial by combat. Even if the whole thing doesn't play out in the next episode, there will be enough to stir up the crisis. Of course, there can be some major changes from the book, and maybe Egg will not reveal his identity so soon, but the trailer has already shown us a clip of Duncan punching Prince Arion, and how he's given a trial by combat. There's even a quick combat sequence where you can see that Duncan is battered and bruised, but Egg convinces him not to give up as he rises with his long sword in both hands. I love how the scene reminds me of Jon Snow standing defiantly during the Battle of the Bastards against Ramsay Bolton, but I also know that this particular show will have absolutely nothing similar to the tone and nature of the OG Game of Thrones. Did Sir Arlen really knight Duncan? Well, I do have this question in the show, even though the book doesn't keep it ambiguous. There are certain scenes that hint at a slight discomfort in Duncan whenever he's asked about the process of his knighthood. He claims that Sir Arlen knighted him in his dying moments, but there are no witnesses to this. Also, we see how Sir Arlen used to hit Duncan randomly and treated him with no respect. And as for the man himself, he wasn't the best looking or the most athletic knight around. What if he only promised to award Duncan with a knighthood for his services, and he took it upon himself when Arlen passed away? I know this wouldn't be going by the books, but the show has been known to divert from the original storyline, so it wouldn't be unheard of. One thing I'm really looking forward to in this show is the rise of Duncan into a knight who's respected and admired, and this wouldn't happen before the trial by combat. If I'm not terribly mistaken here, Prince Arion will ensure a trial of 7, where 2 parties of 7 knights fight for survival, and the first struggle for Duncan is to put together 6 other knights who will fight for him. The likes of Baelor become a part of his fighting force, but he doesn't survive in the end of the books. I don't know how things will go down in the show, but the trailer of the weeks ahead have confirmed that a brutal fight sequence is awaiting us as the knights face off against each other. I can safely predict Duncan's story, but not before some of those he will grow to love will have to die for him. Duncan will rise and Duncan will fall before being back on his feet again. But he won't stop because this is his most special quality. He's a true knight, and the first season will soon establish that, because he's a person who stands by what is right no matter the price he has to pay. By definition, a knight is supposed to uphold honor and truth and fight for the weak, and that's precisely what Duncan is all about. He'll be a knight for me even if he hasn't been formally knighted in the series. I also expect more important characters to be introduced soon, and I can't wait to find out the greater role of Lionel Baratheon in the show. So far, his mannerisms and nature are in true Baratheon style of honor and passion, but I feel like he can have a greater and more impactful role going ahead, possibly even taking a liking to Duncan, which will come in handy for the Hedge Knight. Call me biased if you want, but I have loved everything that I've seen so far, including the performance of Peter Claffey as Ser Duncan and Dexter Sol-Anel as his loyal Squire Egg. The script is quirky, and we haven't even seen major action sequences yet, which is about to change soon enough. The fun comedy element, however, is here to stay, and it might just be the best part of the show. Let me know about your take on the season opener in the comments down below, and also share your thoughts on what might happen in the next episode.